and welcome to Millennial Anti-Terrorizers. And today we're going to be talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But before we start talking about that, who was Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk was a political activist who started Turning Point USA. And what he basically did was he went around and he did outreach to the youth of America, primarily colleges, and talking to them and debating them in discussions of all categories. So here we go. Brody, with what all just went down this week, I know it's all pretty fresh and raw. There's still info coming out, but what was your first reaction when you found out about everything?
So for quite a while, like I don't do a whole lot of social media, but I do Facebook videos. And normally I watch cop videos, but I don't know, at some point Charlie Kirk popped up on my feed somehow. I don't know the algorithms, but man, I watch him all the time. Like I really, really do. And I told my son about it, and my son started watching his debates. Like we really, really like him. And my wife has seen him too, and she watched his debates. You know, out of everyone that I can possibly think of, I think the reason why I like Charlie Kirk probably the most is just his attitude towards not wanting to throw insults, not wanting to get nasty.
No, I'm not. ICE.
What does that stand for?
Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. Hey, don't touch
What are
it.
you doing? What do you hope to get out of this? Why are you here?
Okay, I've been asked that question a lot. First of all, that question should not even have to be asked, but when people stop talking, really bad stuff starts. When marriages stop talking, divorce happens. When church starts happening, they fall apart. When civilizations stop talking, civil war ensues. When you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to want to commit violence against that group. Whether it be the great genocide, the horrible genocides of the last 100 years, people stop talking with each other because they lose their humanity. I wish we could be here without having my hat thrown off and stuff, but what we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have reasonable disagreement where violence is not an option.
I don't understand why you would want to silence that. Um, so it was a pretty tough day. I mean, all my thoughts, prayers go out to him and his family, his organization, and the American people too. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people were affected by this. What do you think, Beth?
No, yeah, like I heard it from Nolan. Like I was just on my way to church or something, but I heard that and I was like, what? It took me a minute when I heard the word Charlie Kirk because like I know of him and stuff like that. So I do not personally watch him, but like I do agree with a lot of his stuff he says. So I do see his clips and I'm like, he doesn't tear the student down, but he almost like educates them. Hey, this is why you think this way.
Sorry, not, but what do you see as the future for like a policy to get people like my friend here that he's on a student visa now, his family was deported back to Mexico. How can someone like him get a green card and his family? Where do you see the government going with that and getting people green cards fairly instead of making it illegal?
When was your family deported? Recently?
2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years. Under Biden. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, look, my perspective might not win him over, I'll be perfectly honest. I think we actually need to limit the amount of green cards for the time being, and I think any country would make the same decision. Our obligation needs to be to American students first and foremost, to make sure that the people in this audience can own homes, have higher wages, and be stakeholders in their country. So I might not win over your friend here, and that's okay, but at least he can have understanding where I'm coming from. Every country should look after their own country, first and foremost. And the problem is the pattern over the last 40 years is we have been overly generous to a detriment to ourselves. And just for an example, people in this audience, it is harder than ever for you guys to own a home, to get married, to have kids, to be able to achieve the American dream that your parents had.
But it's just, he's not trying to dumb anybody down. He's just trying to stick to the facts and stuff like that. So that's what I really admired about him. He's just trying to show people where they're wrong and not to make them feel bad about themselves. But something like this, it's just people can't handle the truth or that the fact that they might be wrong and then their whole world crumbles. So
Do you think men can give birth?
I think that
Yes or no question?
I think that a person who was assigned male at birth, I don't think they
Assigned male at birth, so people are not male at birth?
I think that a person.
See, your evidence that college is a scam, my
They
friend.
have to hurt this person because they want to keep following the real narrative they've been following the whole time. So it just, that's where it hurts me the most. It's like, and they've been saying it a lot in the media. It's like, we keep getting hurt on the right side, but the left is always saying, hey, we need to knock it off, knock it off. But here it's the left that keeps doing this to us, by they're influencing these younger generations to just do something like that. So
why did I do it? Yeah, I had enough of Charlie Kirk's hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. I'm going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Shame on everyone who lied and said that this was something that metastasized on the right. This came from the right. You are sick and evil bastards. I don't understand why you lie so much. Why can't you just tell the truth about a good man dying? You have blood on your hands.
It's just scary to see the war that we're at with our new generation right now. Nolan?
I'm kind of in between you and Brody at the time at this time. You know, I'm kind of I've watched, you know, dozens of his videos and short clips and stuff like that. I've watched a few of his debates.
I was just going to ask if you see the irony in your own propaganda in the Constitution on your brainwash tour. Having the explanations here because you don't believe the reader is smart enough to understand the language is kind of propaganda.
Well, no, see, do you know who that audience is for?
For people who can't read it.
Yeah, that's a constitution for third graders.
Yeah, why are you handing it out to college students?
Let's test your knowledge. Don't open it up.
Right.
What is the 10th Amendment? Okay, let's get easier. What's the 4th Amendment?
Isn't that the No Quartering Act?
No, that's the 3rd Amendment. How many articles are there in the U.S. Constitution?
There's 8 articles.
7.
7.
What is Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution?
I just want to ask.
No, but I'm just saying, you came here guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
You do not know more than a 3rd grader about the U.S. Constitution.
If you don't see the article.
Yeah, I actually know it. You should keep it.
But I have seen a lot of the great clips that have come out over the years. And one thing I knew about the guy was he was willing to have dialogue with anybody. And when he was shot, I was asleep taking a nap, and my wife woke me up and she said Charlie Kirk shot, and I wasn't really registering it. And then when I woke up, I checked it out online, and then when I saw it, I was just like, that's doesn't look real, you know, at that angle. And then, you know, I thought it was made up, and then it got a closer one angle, and then I was like, oh shit, that's in the same spot. That's not fake. That's real. And I immediately saw, you know, that he was wounded mortally. So it came out a little bit later that he was pronounced dead, and that's when I was kind of texting everybody what was going on. Alex, we're just talking about how you heard and what you Charlie Kirk getting assassinated and what you knew about the guy before he was assassinated, kind of thing. Just real quick.
Oh yeah, I just kind of heard about that the other day, and didn't know who it was until I saw it posted up on Facebook. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's the dude who's like going to the colleges and, you know, talks about political things and shit that's going on, topic of around the world and all. And fucking, you know, you got people that have ass backward opinions on it, and you're like, how, you know, kind of like actually educating people on like, nah, dude, this is like really what this means. You know, you've been narrated to wrong, or you've been told wrong by somebody else's agenda. So like, you are now thinking and acting in the wrong. This is how you should be. Kind of, you know, that's how I kind of always took his videos. Because like some of the ones I'd always be watching would just be if he was like talking about like a lot of those riots that were going on. You know, then he'd be out there be like, dude, you guys think it's okay to be like tearing up, people's businesses and homes and shit like that. Like, peaceful way of doing things, and then there's the I didn't get my way, so whatever their way of doing it. Most people cry about things when they don't get their way and then shrug their shoulders and move on. Others apparently just get violent, get destructive, and find that it's okay to take someone else's life. So,
All right, so here's the next question to Brody. Brody, did you ever want to debate him, and was there ever a topic that you felt like, oh, I disagreed with you on this. I wanted to have this discussion with you.
I mean, of course, I don't know if I'd want to debate him honestly because he was really good at it. So,
Yeah.
uh, the people that sit there and read all the statistics and get that underneath their belt, you can't really go against logic too much. And so I don't know if I would be able to debate him very well, but obviously there's stuff that I didn't agree with him, personally. Like I think one of the biggest thing is that he was pro-life. I'm not pro-life. I'm not pro-choice either. I believe in afterbirth abortions. Like I think there's so many fucking useless people in the world. So,
Birth abortion.
so
Jesus, Brody.
I am sorry, guys, but that's just how I really feel. I think if 80% of the population disappeared tonight, it would be fucking a positive thing.
I have been bitching about the population problem for 3 specials in a row. Waiting for some politician to have the balls to bring it up, but they won't do it. They won't do it. We live in a democracy, right? Can't be honest in a democracy. You need the votes. You can't run with that as your platform. Coming out there, and if elected, I would implement a program to immediately eliminate at least 85% of you. This planet cannot sustain the sheer numbers. Let me finish. This will not be arbitrary. Under your seats is a multiple choice questionnaire. If you did not bring a pencil, you're already out.
Obviously, I'm not a Christian man. I'm not. I have a lot of trauma. Well, a lot of trauma, and I believe certain things, but most of the stuff that he talked about and debated, it like Alex was saying, it was just about education. People are so mindless nowadays, just throwing out the words fascist or Nazi or anything like that, and it's like you guys don't even know what they mean. I see all these other videos like, you're a fascist, and they're like, oh, what's a fascist?
How do you feel about being called a fascist?
I don't care being lied about.
Why is it a lie?
Because I'm not a fascist. I believe in a free society. Let me ask you, who's the fascist? The guy that's smiling in the sun, or the 500 people barking trying to prevent me from speaking?
And they can't even answer what it is.
Not anymore, yeah.
I've seen Charlie Kirk been called a racist. I've seen him called a fascist, all this kind of stuff. I mean, he even went over to London and was debating, Cambridge and all over the globe.
Yeah.
And always respectful and always just trying to really make the other person see the other point of view, at least, even if they don't agree with it. At least you can understand where the other person stands. And that's why I always really liked him. What about you, Beth?
I would never debate him myself either because I'm just not a debater, but I can argue, but I don't know if that's just fair or not. But I do love the way he talks because even when I don't know something on a political state or religious, whatever it is he's talking about, I like to listen in, especially when he's correcting, whether it's the students he's talking to or just anybody professionally that works for this college itself. But he just really knows a lot about almost everything. And it kind of goes back to somebody I had just watching recently. Is more religious. He was a pastor, but also just kind of more of an influencer. I know his first name was Kent. I'll have to get his last name, but it just kind of resonated with me. He's just sticking to the literal facts. He's not trying to veer off and just kind of give you what you want to hear kind of thing. He's just showing you what you have to see is already right in front of you kind of thing. And that's what I really enjoyed about him too. But then also he was really sticking to really influencing the younger generation. And I feel like that's very important because they're so influential, especially with the last administration we had, and with all this transgender and who you're supposed to be. And it almost became not just the crime itself, but also the self-harm within the person themselves. So I just really admire him the most and who he was as an iconic person. What about you, Alex?
Nah, dude, I can't debate for shit. I ain't gonna
Neither can
debate nothing.
Because I can't
You know,
debate if I want food.
like that. Like I said, like, you know, I just know he was pretty informed on whatever he was talking about.
Give me your perspective on DEI, and because based on what I heard earlier, I feel like you don't think I belong here.
Oh,
because
really?
Of
Why?
how I am a black man, and because of DEI, I'm not qualified enough
Are you?
to be here. Yes, I am.
Okay, great, then you belong.
Can you explain to me your position on DEI?
Yes, people should not be in positions just because of the color of their skin. Hard stop.
I feel like you made it to where I got here through DEI.
So let's examine that. What have I said that makes you feel that way?
When you mentioned how DEI is only just putting people of color and marginalized groups in spaces, even if they're not so and so
Correct.
qualified.
That's exactly what DEI does. No, that's exactly that is the charter missions.
That's not all.
Okay,
that it
so
does.
diversity, equity. So equity is outcome based. Is about making people who are of different skin colors have the same outcome, regardless whether or not they are qualified. The best example we have of this is the Students for Fair Admission Harvard Supreme Court case, where black students, they could have a SAT score 300 points lesser than the Asian equivalent and still get into Harvard. That is DEI in practice. I believe when you're hiring for an organization or for a company or for whatever you are doing, you should prioritize merit and character, and race should mean nothing. We should build around things that matter and not things that don't matter.
It's like, no, like, dude does his research because you're like, as he's talking, oh, well, this right here says, you know, like, if you search this leading fucking website that says this is what the data is, if you've gone and talked to those people, you know, he's done his homework and covers his bases, so he knows what he's talking about.
It's all right if you have an opinion. I'm saying it's not all right if you don't understand how the female reproductive system works.
Let's pop quiz. When does heartbeats begin for babies in utero?
Have you ever eaten an egg before? That's yes or no. Have you ever eaten an egg before?
Scrambled, yeah.
Okay, so would that be you scrambled a full chicken?
Well, hold on. You understand that it takes an egg to be fertilized?
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But your point,
So,
the whole
so,
point you're making
well,
is
hold
that
on. So,
a
but no.
baby...
Since we're doing pop quiz on like human development, so when exactly do heart waves begin in utero?
You know that, but you don't know the four
Hold on, no,
cycles.
so tell me when heartbeat.
I don't know.
Okay, you don't know.
No.
So wait, hold on. So you're trying to say I know more about the woman reproductive system than you do?
I am a woman, so yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, but the point being is we could both go back and forth of like independent trivial facts when it comes to the woman's reproductive system. But here's something we all know, because God wrote this on the human heart of every individual, as it says in the book of Romans. We know deep down it's wrong to murder a baby.
You're not murdering a baby. It's not a baby.
Okay, well let's play this out. What is it then?
It is an embryo, which is not a baby.
Well, okay, so it's a fertilized embryo.
Correct, which is not a baby.
So at what point does it become a baby?
When it is born.
Oh.
You know, when he's asking these college kids that had just stepped out of class, okay, you just learned this. Well, you're being taught wrong. You can see how some of the people in the videos are just like you were saying, Brody, you know, you'd ask them what's the, you know, define a fascist, define what a woman is, and they just you know, can't say nothing, don't know what to say. And you kind of like, all right, dude, you're just following. You can tell who the sheeple are versus
sheeple.
You know, yeah, the sheep, people that are just following what they're being told, rather than, okay, let me go actually find this out.
Oh no, it was coming up again. Word vomit.
If you're gonna spew into this.
I think the whole thing with like slavery too was another one that he pressed big on. Like not everybody was, everybody was a slave at some point.
So when did slavery end in the United States?
Great question. It began to end in 1777, a process of decoupling from an ancestral evil where we have more people in the world right now that are slaves today than back then. The process began 1820s. The debate reignites because of John C. Calhoun, the creation of the cotton gin. We fight a war over it. We win the war and slavery is abolished. That's a pretty awesome track record for a country that inherited an evil that every other country prior to it had. It was the West that got rid of slavery. It was William Wilberforce. It was John Edwards. It was George Whitefield. It's easy to kind of do your thing like, well, it's terrible, it's bad. Yes, it's easy to call balls and strikes on a society you didn't create. It's easy to try to lecture the rest of the country. Be like, these people are so terrible for something you didn't toil for or sacrifice for.
Yeah. Every country had slavery farther back from when we did it. That's the one thing about like social media is in this AI shit and just these influencers is, you can have a pretty face and all that, but
that Hansel's so hot right now.
But if you don't know what the fuck you're actually talking about, a lot of this stuff is so misleading.
What is this?
A center for ants?
Like misleading information. So you follow the wrong person who's just talking out their ass. You might, if you're not actually paying attention and knowing what you're listening to and then doing that research yourself a little bit, digging into, you could be following someone who's just talking out their ass. And so again, I just find it pretty sad to, how old was he? What, 30? 31?
Yeah, he was
younger
31.
than me, dude. I'm 37 almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he started real young in 2012. He complained about not having the availability to have good jobs. So careers. There weren't any careers available. There's jobs, but there's no careers. And so he created his own career. And, he kind of reminded me a little bit of Steven Crowder with, Change My Mind. And he's got a memory like Ben Shapiro, but Ben Shapiro is very fast spoken. So it's hard to have a discussion with him because he's so fast with it. Like you have to be quick on it to understand where he's going with something to get along in the debate. The reason why he was so well with those things, but also he was willing to debate anybody on just about anything, because he did have not a strong opinion, but if he had an opinion on something, he was willing to get the information that he needed to have a right opinion. And he was a Bible scholar. He was converting over to Catholicism. His wife had gotten back into Catholicism. She apparently was raised in the church. We could talk about some other things later, but when I would want to debate him, also Brody would be, pro-life. I believe that it shouldn't be used as a birth control, but it should be used as a medical procedure for certain instances. I won't get into that. That's not what this discussion is about. But I would have probably more along the lines, instead of having a debate with him in front of a college, would be more along the lines of have a dinner discussion with the guy.
So, shall I get us started? Watson, please. We're in the middle of a conversation. Can't you see? When the two most brilliant minds in all of England have a fraternal bond, words are an inefficiency.
You communicate without words, silently, from giant brain to gianter brain.
Of course.
And have him over as a dinner guest and have a discussion with him about, many things without the pressure of, 400
Right.
students or something. Um, the next thing we were going to talk about, Brody, so now that we caught the shooter here a couple hours ago, what kind of information have you heard about the shooter?
Yeah, I just seen that. Well, I think it was last night they released pictures, dude in sunglasses, but we didn't really know. But I guess this morning, the FBI said that Tyler Robinson was ID'd. He's 22, and there's already pictures of him as a transgender. So I think we can understand at least what his motives were for killing Charlie Kirk. I am really excited to see the timeline, kind of more of the picture of the entire investigation. I think it's kind of early. Um, and I think they're saying they ID'd him, but I think it hasn't been proven yet. So, we have to throw that out there just in case that they got something wrong. But that's all I've heard so far about the shooter.
Okay. Beth?
Actually, I've heard quite a bit. The information I found out is he was a student at that school, which was the Utah Valley University. He was on scholarship. And he had a room. How they caught him was actually his father. His father was a police officer. He was a veteran of 27 years for the Washington County Sheriff's Department. And I'm not sure if his dad saw him on TV or something, or how it all went about. But I'm just saying, dad took custody of him and turned him in, and that's kind of like how it went about. Now there's a rumor saying that they might be doing it for the money, but then again, I don't know. If it was my kid, I'd do the same thing. But again, I found some other things too when it comes to motive, though. Obviously, he didn't like Charlie Kirk's views, but he was becoming more political over the years. So
we now know the motive and identity of Charlie Kirk's killer, and it's worse than you could possibly imagine. Tyler Robinson is a young man raised in a seemingly normal household. His father is a cop. His mother is a service worker for the state, working with disabled kids. He had a normal upbringing. He even wore a Donald Trump costume to a couple Halloweens ago. His family are registered Republicans. But Tyler Robinson was accepted to a left-wing university, and after getting accepted there, was indoctrinated into left-wing and radical ideologies. The university that Tyler Robinson attended has a strong Antifa presence and LGBT presence. And Tyler Robinson came home with political vengeance and hatred after a few semesters there. According to his family, he got dark and political, started talking about how much he hated Charlie Kirk, and then began to plan methodically and silently the murder of Charlie. And he used left-wing iconography to do it, according to the FBI and the governor of Utah.
So with the roommate, they found out that he knew a little bit about it, so they were kind of really close.
Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange, then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry." Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson again, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The F in messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notice bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke all right. I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine, IDK. I think that was a $2K dollar scope. Wink, wink. Robinson again, delete this exchange. Again, Robinson, my dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me, RN, not answering. Robinson, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Again, you are all I worry about, love. That came from Robinson. Roommate, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent.
A little bit about him too is they're finding out there was writings. I couldn't find anything specifically, but he was doing some stuff on the shell casings, just like our last video when we were talking about the transgender, him writing all those anti-Semitic kind of stuff, but I couldn't find what specifically was on that. But Alex, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I'm just hearing who it is. Like I was saying earlier, I didn't know who had done it or if they had heard or caught who had done it yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of the information I've heard is been on X. And now, before I get into that information, let's go into the information that we had before they caught him. You know,
Okay.
people were saying that he was a Mossad agent. People were saying it was this, saying it was that, and everything like that. Now, what happened is this is from several different news agencies, I think, was the day before he brought up the discussion that Charlie Kirk's coming, and they both were talking about it, how much they didn't like him and they thought he was a fascist. After he confessed to his father, apparently, this is what like Good Morning America was saying or something like that. They said to his father then called a friend that was a U.S. Marshal. He put him in handcuffs, and then they called law enforcement, and then to have him picked up and everything. So at that point, when the U.S. Marshal showed up and put him in handcuffs, at that point he is legally arrested. He's detained. So that is from what I heard on the X platform. and that is kind of where it was leaning a lot towards what you guys saying. There's a lot of information you guys said that I didn't hear, so I don't know if what you heard from me is new, but there was a lot of speculation that he, who did it, this and that, and now people are trying to speculate and say he is MAGA. He
Yeah.
is a Trump supporter, so on and so forth, because there was a picture of him holding a Trump costume or something, not wearing it, but just holding it or something. But this could be AI generated. Who knows? It's too early to tell, guys.
Right. I have some stuff, if you don't mind me adding to that too, because before they found out who it was, they had arrested somebody else.
This is something that popped up on social media almost instantly. A man who seemingly was celebrating this result in the aftermath, the mere seconds after the shots rang out in Utah. Everybody wondered what was going on here and if this was an indication of a larger plot within the audience in order to attack Charlie. Now, I want to clear the record here, because this mystery bearded man who appeared to cheer for Charlie Kirk claims that what he was doing was chanting USA, USA to try and potentially create a distraction for someone who may be wishing to harm Charlie. This is what he says in his words. He goes by David. On his X account, he posted a video where he says he was trying to create a distraction to save lives. Now, let me, again, when I heard a sharp crack, I thought perhaps it was a firework or a disruptive prank, he says, wearing the same hat and the same outfit. And he said he looked up the horizon for smoke. When none appeared, I realized that it must have been a firearm, and he was simply trying to assist.
They didn't obviously give any information on that person, thinking it was them, because this was just some random student within the crowd and they thought it was them. Then you got another newscast, I forget which station it was, going on there saying, oh, it was just a celebration shot by accident and that's what happened. So they were trying to minimize what actually happened to Charlie Kirk. So hearing these little things it was just almost kind of sickening. Just,
oh,
yes.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Yeah, I'll put that up. But I'm going to touch that before we move on.
disinformation.
Yeah, just
So
disinformation or steering a different narrative just to kind of get a reaction out of those type of people.
And I do want to take you out to some of this video that you may have seen on the day of that assassination here, as investigators now say the man who they initially thought was Charlie Kirk's assassin admitted to screaming that he was the gunman to allow the real shooter to get away. Earlier today, the Utah Department of Public Safety explained George Zinn had attended that event, and after the gunshot was fired, he screamed that he had shot Charlie Kirk, was later transported to the hospital for some type of medical emergency. That is where Utah officials say Zinn confessed that he did not shoot Kirk, but that he wanted to hinder the investigation and allow the real shooter time to get away. Zinn also faces charges for possession of child sex abuse material after investigators say they found disturbing images in his phone involving children.
So, Brody, with that all being said, that this guy was a First Amendment, type of guy, here we are doing a podcast, how important do you think it is you expressing your First Amendment as we are, and kind of go in a little bit of why you're doing this as expressing your First Amendment?
To be honest, for a long time, I didn't give a shit about my rights. I swore on the Constitution, to defend and all that kind of stuff, but none of that shit was really real until I got out the first time. And then I kind of started why did I fight for all this kind of stuff? And I really started looking at all the Constitution. Dude, all of our amendments is what separates us from the rest of the world. Our Bill of Rights is some of the most sophisticated piece of literature that you can ever possibly read. And it is amazing. My First Amendment right is all the tenets of it are incredibly important based on our freedoms in America and what America stands for. I do want to say that I think certain people are misusing their rights. Just because you have the ability to say something doesn't mean that you should say it. There should be some kind of responsibility.
Murder! I don't know, I mean, call me crazy, but I believe a man has a right to protect his family. Say hello to Manson for me. You're out of order! No, no, no! You're out of order! This whole court is out of order!
It is something like I agree. I fought for everyone here, and all you fought for it too, that everyone has the freedom of speech. But I wish a lot of people would shut the fuck up.
You could trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up. Now you will go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep. Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
I do want to point out that with this Charlie Kirk situation in particular, there is a lot of people getting fired right now from their jobs because of their freedom of speech. Yeah, celebrating his death, all that kind of stuff. I mean, even Ron DeSantis in Florida is now getting together with the Florida Bureau of Investigations to go through every single public school teacher that's in the state. And you are going to get fired if you celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. And I'm like, accountability and fucking, responsibility. I love it. I don't know. I think it's important that we all can have a discussion about anything, just like how Charlie Kirk was doing. Here, we're discussing our political views. We discuss our personal views. We discuss stuff that we've been through. And I think I can agree with, or not agree with, but I think you can all agree with me that we're here to try to just help someone.
Yeah.
There's no ill will towards anyone here. I really do think that it's important that we have these discussions.
No, I was gonna say I agree with you, because without having this freedom of speech, how are we to grow as a unity, America alone or just within our own community? I'm like, we have to hear different perspectives, because that's what's going to make us successful. But having this hatred because I hear something I don't like, well, it's like, think about it. You're saying something we don't like, but you don't see us projecting back. So again, it's this I see the toddler mentality. I'm sorry to use it in that term, but that's the only way I can explain myself. It's just like, I don't like what I see. I'm just going to throw a temper tantrum and hurt you or do what I can to make you feel bad. And that's just pretty much what this whole crime thing that's happening we're seeing is everybody's throwing a temper tantrum because they don't like what they see, instead of just owning up and being okay with somebody else's opinion and just respecting it. But what I wanted to say is this is some more stuff that kind of came up and about. A gentleman by the name of J.B. Pritzker. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, but there was a video. He started blaming Charlie Kirk for his own shooting.
But I will say that political violence, unfortunately, has been ratcheting up in this country. We saw the shootings, the killings in Minnesota. We've seen other political violence occur in other states. And I would just say it's got to stop. And I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments it. We've seen the January 6th rioters who clearly, have tripped a new era of political violence.
And it's just like, what is wrong with you? He's trying to do better for this entire community. He's trying to help educate our students better, and it was dumbfounding. I'm not going to go into that, but again, going back to what you're saying, Brody, the people were cheering and they were starting to rant on social media about they were very proud that he got shot. There was one lady saying, I hope the bullet was okay when it hit his neck. And it's like, who says that kind of thing? But I did want to identify, they even have t-shirts coming out too with his head. That's where that quote came out. So yeah, they got a bullet with him getting shot in the neck, and it's like a whole t-shirt meme now. It's just like, how demonic can you be to think like that? Yeah. But the people that did get fired, though, I'm going to name some people off because I really want to yeah, people need to be like shamed on here, right? Right. So
Accountability.
both of their names, I will put them in the subtitles, right? So these are the people that got fired. So coming from MSNBC was a Matthew Dowd, I think is how you say it. But he got fired for whatever it is he said, and yeah, they fired him immediately. It's like they don't believe in like that type of thing. So I think even the news stations are starting to realize we got to start not letting our staff start talking like this, because it comes back to hit them in the butt, like CNN in The View. Another person, by the way, this was a DC writer. They wrote for the comic book called Red Hood. It was a comic series or something like that. The person's name was Gretchen Flecker Martin, I think is how you pronounce it. This person was trans and was about free Palestine and all this kind of stuff. But she was the one that hoped the bullet was okay. I'm sorry. So it was her that quoted that.
Wow.
And with that being said, yeah, something about blue sky and being suspended. So there you go, viewers. Keep an eye on that. That's a pattern right there. Next person is Laura Sashi. Lightsey, I guess how you say it. She was an assistant dean for the Middle Tennessee State University. So she got fired for a comment she said on her social media. And as soon as the president of the college found out, they fired her on the spot and wrote this huge apology saying this, we don't go by this kind of moral, because she's working for those type of students who we're supposed to encourage. And here she says something like that. So that was the purpose of that one. My last person I got, don't get mad, guys, but it happened. But a Captain Jacob Williamson, United States Marine Corps, is now being discharged because of what he was saying for the comments of him getting shot, like being very proud of it. So Pete Hegseth was like demanding his termination from the military right there.
Wow.
So yeah, what do you guys have to say about that?
Alex, what do you got to say about expressing your First Amendment, how important it is, and what's all, being punished, Charlie Kirk being punished for expressing his First Amendment?
Yeah, that's one of those, again, you got those people that are bitching and crying about their constitutional rights, but yet, they step on everybody else's constitutional rights to be like, oh no, whatever. And so when you're sitting there, yeah, that's the whole kind of thing where it's like, I think they should bring back mass punishment. So like in something like this, oh, about it, you're a conspirator. Oh, guess what? You posted a comment. Yeah, going to what Brody was saying, you should start watching what you're saying. Guess what? Now you're a co-conspirator, we got all these little underground groups forming up all over the place, like Antifa and all, that you're just like, dude, it's time to just stop trying to find the one person, treat them like gang members, dude, like biker gang members. You're affiliated. You're brandishing this all over your fucking social media. You're affiliated. You must have had something involved in it, and if you did it, you must know somebody. Then treat them like that. Then you'll get people to start fucking like, I guess what's the word? Not being stupid with what we're saying and how we're talking, and because like we're saying, dude, this is a life we're talking about. Who was just, was just speaking. And if that's hurting your feelings or making you feel, then you need to take a fucking look inside yourself, homie, and look in the mirror and fucking wonder what kind of fucking human being are you? Are you going to be that big of a pussy because somebody's hurting your feelings about your whatever your situation or feeling is, but then you're turning around and you're now stomping on someone else's constitutional rights because you felt like you got hurt. What was the saying, the eye for an eye thing. It's not the same when you're, the whole, didn't anybody ever used to tell these people like sticks and stones, dude? Like words are just words.
Right.
Skid mark.
Nipple hair.
Lame.
Loser.
Are you aware that I am rubber and you are glue, and everything that you say to me bounces off of me and sticks to you?
Right?
You know, because that's all I was told growing up was, oh, words are just words. You know, let them call you whatever the fuck they want to call you. But you know, then at a certain point, you get to a certain age, motherfucker starts learning. Okay, dude, now you're going to start learning that your words are going to have consequences. So,
Oh yeah.
you know, that's why you ain't got no friends. That's why you ain't got no girlfriend. That's why you're living at home alone. That's why you don't got a home. That's why you don't got family wanting to help you out because A, B, C, D. You know, so in a situation like this, it's like, hey man, if you know that's the whole point of like want to say debating is, but like you know that's the whole point of like having conversations is like one person gets to say their piece, the other person says their piece. Let's pick and scratch at what's gnawing at each other's fucking ear about it and explain. Okay, this is my view on that. This is what we think of this side of the view, or this is what you think on that side. All right, cool, man. You know, but if you're gonna get that petty, it's just like I think honestly, dude, death penalty on shit like that. That it's just one of those like that needs to be quick. You know, the right to speedy trial, process that shit. All right, dude. You know, you take a life, your life gets taken, and you know, don't let them sit around in prison for 5, 10 years to dwell on it. No, dude, you took a life. Guess what? Being once we find you guilty within the 3 months you get on that fourth month, you got that's your fucking last month, dude. Like, you know,
Yeah.
fair and speedy trial, but when the things are matching up, and you know, dude, you're the fucking dude, and we've gone through everything and made sure that this is the dude that we got. Let's not waste our fucking time and tax-paying money. Here's the fucking lesson, dude. You know, like I said, you know, when you murder somebody and you go through, you know, that those processing, that those court trials and everything nowadays, dude, it gets dragged out because it's something to plaster on the TV on news.
Yeah.
But you know, they need to go back to the fucking old West style and
I know what you're thinking, punk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Now, to tell you the truth, I forgot myself in all this excitement. But being this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and will blow your head clean off, you've got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky?
you're found, tried, and hanged guilty for fucking your actions. And here's A, B, C, D evidence. And you've got everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Susie, and Sarah pointing their fingers saying, you're the dude who did it. You know, half of us saw you do it. All right, man, let's not waste the time, you know, because then, like I said, that's taxpayer money. Now we're going to sit here, and it's sad for this dude, but because like this is an individual too who was kind of big in the social media outlook. You know, how long is their family now going to be dragged through and having this? You know, it's going to be what 2, 3 years before it's like, oh yeah, dude, they finally made him guilty after he sat in prison or jail for 2 years.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
need
it's
closure.
Yeah,
you
well,
know, yeah, for the families.
we'll see because the governor said that they're going to give him the death penalty.
I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently as county attorney, based solely on the available evidence and circumstances and nature of the crime.
And the president said that they would give him the death penalty, but it looks like the state's going to charge him with the death penalty. That's what they said before they captured him. Now that they captured him, we'll see if they hold up to it. Me doing this for the First Amendment, you know, it was actually Brody years ago who said I should be on a podcast. And we kind of do this for fun, and we do this for other reasons. Me, it was more along the lines of I was tired of seeing like s- special forces community being the whole vocal for our community for 20 years of war, two different wars. And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't do those things, and
Yeah.
I don't connect with that. So I felt like we should, do this little program, and we should talk about different things. And now we're talking about current events. And, here we have somebody who was assassinated because they exercised the First Amendment right willingly, openly with individuals, never forcefully. And now we have these issues to where people are being judged again for their words and not their actions. And his actions, if you want to go off his actions where he was just using words and he was being very, very, passive aggressive. He wasn't aggressive in anything. He was very passive, very calm spoken. And that's kind of what I hope that we can aspire in our program, is to continue to give content and be calm and collective, and just give the opinion as combat veterans that we are, to individuals, and more importantly, put our footprint out there on the internet that no, we exist and we did these things, and these things were common things, not what you hear off of these big fancy podcasts filled with special forces guys. It's a completely different ball game. Well, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to Millennial Anti-Terrorizers, and we'll see you next time.